Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Lion and the Liverbird podcast. Last week we spoke about Liverpool's transfer dealings in the 2025 summer window, breaking records, signing Alexander Isak on deadline day, and missing out on Mark Gahey. But obviously we need to talk about Chelsea and their transfer dealings. And the biggest talking point out of all this has to be that Chelsea were net spend positive. They actually made money in this transfer window, which I think is something that we've spoken about previously, where we see that Chelsea are running their transfer or the club as a business. So it's good sense that they made money. And I think we'll also talk about one of the big signings that they made in the summer, which is Alejandro Garnacho. I'm not sure how Manchester United fans will feel about him. I know they weren't too pleased with his performances at the end of the season, but I think he's actually a very astute signing, and I think he'll do really well at Chelsea. But let's get Rohit to get the ball rolling. Rohit, take it away. Chelsea net spend positive. Wow.
Yeah, that's historic for us, right, Adim? I think Chelsea have been notorious big spenders, right? Always breaking the bank. And then I don't know whether you saw recently we had like 78 charges against us for hiding like agent fees during Roman Abramovich's day. So there's a fine coming there, right?
So
So from that, yeah,
just to
go
put
ahead. Yeah.
just to clarify that these findings were actually done by Chelsea themselves. So
Yep.
this is due diligence that you guys have done, and you've taken it forward and presented it to the authorities, which is something you've done previously also. Is basically you're clearing up Roman's messes before
Yes.
somebody else catches it. So I think it's good in a way.
Yeah, yeah. I think, if somebody else catches it, the fine would probably be more, right?
Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
guys are like, okay, might as well get away with it. And I think that ties into probably why we had a net positive. I think because we've qualified in the Champions League after a long time, I think UEFA gave us a specific stipulation that you need to only, spend X amount of money, or, you need to have a net spend of less than X amount. And we also paid a fine to UEFA. I think that was a big reason why we ended up, selling more than we bought. And I think, of course, there are a couple of players that we sold that we'll talk about, including Madueke and Nicholas Jackson, who's gone on loan, who I don't really think we should have let go of. But, like you said, that's just the way things work now. And so, talking about the model a little bit, you talked about, right? The weird thing, the interesting thing as a fan for me, right, Adim, is I can't seem to now connect with the players long term because, I thought, hey, Nicholas Jackson, he's going to have a breakout here, right? I thought Madueke, okay, he's been with us, he was young when he joined and we've seen a steady improvement. Then I thought, okay, he's going to have a breakout year. Right before that, right before you can get invested in a player as a Chelsea player, Chelsea go ahead and sell them or loan them out for a profit, right? So I don't know, taking a little bit of time for me to get used to the fact that, the only probably, safe player right now is Cole Palmer, maybe. I don't even know that. Right. So I don't know. What do you feel about that? Not kind of connecting long term with players, knowing that it's basically like turnstile kind of approach to the transfers.
I think it's more like the American style of managing a franchise, as they say. Nobody's too big to be traded away. We've seen Luka Doncic, LeBron James,
Hmm.
etc. So that's the thing. Like you love the club, but you don't know if the player is going to be there for long enough to become a legend. And I think football's changed dramatically in 15, 20 years, where you had players who would be at a club for their entire careers, right? I mean, you've seen Jimmy Carragher, you've seen people like Frank Lampard, also although Lampard did go to Man City for a year, I think on loan, but there were players who are linked to clubs. But I don't think that's possible anymore. At least at Chelsea, because we've said this a lot of times that it feels like a real American club. They have Americanized Chelsea, and that's how they see the players. They just see them as I don't know objects to buy and sell, make a profit, keep the engine running per se. So unfortunately, I think that's what it's going to be. Ooh, yeah. So Cole Palmer's,
Yeah.
yeah, I think Cole Palmer's the only one that you could say is that yeah, he's gonna be the Chelsea stalwart. At least I don't know for as long as they
Yeah.
want to keep him.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay. Getting back to the transfers, right? Of course, we have Joao Pedro, who's been great. He
Mm.
was crucial in our Club World Cup win. Then we have Garnacho, who will talk a little bit in depth. We also have Jamie Gittins, Jorel Hato, Liam Delap, Estevao. We bought so many people, right? It's crazy. And, I think in the future, for example, somebody like Liam Delap, who we got on a bargain like 30
Yeah.
million pounds, right? You could totally see the Madueke arc playing out, right? Him playing for a couple of years, maybe, a couple of years he'll probably be in his prime, 24, 25. Maybe he gets sold for again 50, 60 million for a profit, something like that, right? So it's interesting. Let's see how that plays out. That being said, let's dive into, the most interesting transfer that I think we've had this time, a very polarizing transfer both in our fan base as well as across the footballing world. It's Alejandro Garnacho
Mhm.
from Manchester United, right? So we got him for 40 million pounds plus there's some like sell-on fees or something. But it's very interesting, right? Because if you look at a lot of the data and analytics podcasts and accounts across the internet, everybody's saying that that's a bargain, right? A
Mhm.
21-year-old young kid who's played, I think, well over 100 games in the Premier League, has scored and assisted regularly, and
Yes.
getting him for 40 million pounds is a bargain, right? But the flip side of it is obviously, how things soured at Manchester United for him. But that just seems to be the way things happen with like young, prodigious, people at Man United currently, right? The same thing has happened with Rashford, same thing has happened with Sancho, so on and so forth. So, uh, I think that aspect is probably a little bit too overemphasized. But what do you think of Garnacho as a player, first of all, Adim, and then we'll talk about off the pitch stuff that his brother does on Instagram or something like.
So I think he's a great player. As you rightly said, he is a prodigious talent, and sometimes your head will tell you some things that maybe you shouldn't be listening to. Maybe he thinks he's too good a player, or something like that. But he is really good, and maybe he needed a change in environment. Maybe working with a better manager coach. We know Enzo Maresca is a very very hands-on coach, so maybe that could work for him. And Garnacho wanted to make this move to Chelsea, so he rejected a few other offers. So there is something. There is he wouldn't want to come to a club and then not play and ruin his career, right? He's 21. He has to do this thing. He's already, I think, made his debut for the Argentina national side and he's won the Copa America. So I think Chelsea have got a really good talent. And as you said, they could sell him on in a couple of years for 60, 70 million if things turn out right, right? So I think that's and we've seen the talent that he has on the pitch. In his, I think, the first proper breakout season at United, he was really good. He was like a winger, and there have been so many comparisons to Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Apart from that Puskas goal he scored against Everton, let's not forget about that. So there is a player. There is just that we have to unlock him. And now talking about the off the field stuff, we've seen so many players do stuff like this, right? It's not new. So when we're talking about
Well,
the
Kobe Mino is doing that now, right? At,
yeah,
at
exactly.
Manchester
So
United. It's
talking
so
about
crazy.
United, right? I think it's very we should take it with a pinch of salt because I think there's something deeply rotten at Manchester United because it can't be that almost every single player is being called out. And how is it that every player that goes there, they have a dip in form? These are
Yeah.
actual international players. Matthias de Ligt, I don't know what's happened to him. Harry Maguire, okay, he was great at Leicester. I don't know what's happened to him. Bruno Fernandes has seen a dip. Casemiro's nowhere near to what he was. I don't know which Manchester United player has actually done well in the last 3, 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think in the last decade or so, they've had very few players who've
Yeah,
actually improved, right? Maybe
exactly.
Bruno Fernandes, yeah.
Bruno Fernandes might be one, might be the only outliner. So that's like you have to take that with a pinch of salt. So what his brother does, we've seen Trent Alexander-Arnold's brothers do stuff. We've seen Alexander Isak down his tools. Visa do the same thing. Isak and Visa are older players who
Yeah.
know much better. So Garnacho's 21, man. I mean, if his brother
Yeah.
says something, it's
And,
it's right.
and I think the stuff that he himself does on social media is kind of funny because I don't know if you remember, he posted a picture of himself wearing a Rashford Aston Villa
Oh
jersey
yeah, yeah,
last
yeah, yeah, he
year.
did.
That's good shithousery,
Yeah.
right?
So,
Oh
so
my
you
God.
need stuff like this, right? You can't
Yeah.
all be serious. You don't want everybody to have a
Agreed.
20, 35-year-old's brain on a
Agreed.
21-year-old body. Let them have fun. They're kids after all. It's
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, so I think just to round out the discussion, right? I think why Garnacho is fascinating is basically if you look at his statistics, what he excels at is something unique, right? He's 98th percentile for shots, right? So this is somebody who pulls the trigger regularly, gets shots on target, gets shots off, and he also is 96th percentile for touches in the opposition penalty box, right?
Wow.
So we have a lot of players who are good passers, but sometimes we don't have, enough runners, especially having lost Nicholas Jackson because he was somebody who would stretch the defense. So I think Garnacho would complement that. He's a different skill set to what a Gittins brings to you, right? So I think he will do well. Let's see, maybe
So,
he gets a
do
start.
you
Yep.
see Garnacho starting? And if he does start,
Yeah.
does he start on the left or the right? Because he's
He will
capable
start
of
on the
playing.
left.
Yeah.
Yes. So on the right, we are kind of well stocked now. Pedro Neto
Mm.
and Estevao, both of them have been playing well. On the left, Gittins has not had, he's had a few cameos, but he'll take a lot of time because, coming back to the point, although Garnacho is 21, he's played over 150 games in the Premier League or some insane number of games, right? So
Yeah,
he
yeah, he
has
has.
that maturity, he has that tactical understanding even at that young age, which Gittin lacks. Gittin will need time, maybe an entire season actually, to completely bed in. But Garnacho, for his young age, is somebody who's probably going to start, getting in the first 11 pretty soon. So that's going to be interesting to see. Okay, from that, moving on to some of the issues that we've been currently having that's kind of related to transfers, right? So injuries have started to pile up for Chelsea, right? We've seen Liam Delap out for a long time now. He's out for 12 weeks with a hamstring issue. We have obviously seen Colwell. He's out for like 6 months. He even had a surgery, and then Cole Palmer has gotten injured. Recently, Dario Sugo, our young, Caicedo backup, is out for a long time. He got surgery, right? So this is probably, to a certain extent due to the Club World Cup and our short period of preseason, but that ties into transfers, right? Because the center forward position saga kind of
Mm.
played out an entire kind of drama on the final day because we were trying to sell Nicholas Jackson just to make money, and we were trying to offload him to Bayern with a loan with a buy option at the end of the day, but then Delap got injured, so they tried to call Nicholas Jackson back, and then Nicholas Jackson didn't want to come back, and then subsequently we called back Mark Guiu, who we had sent on loan on Sunderland, right? So that's going to be interesting. Mark Guiu is basically going to be our number nine along with Joao Pedro because Joao Pedro can't play so many
Yeah.
games at number nine, right? So Guiu is going to get a good number of games. And again, he's very raw. He's not like the deputy to a number nine that you'd want. Like comparing with Liverpool, right? You have Isak and Ekitike, right? Joao Pedro is really good, but like if you compare the second choice to Guiu, nowhere close, right? So, I don't know, injuries have already started to pile up, which kind of makes sense because of the Club World Cup. But what do you think about that? You think it's gonna just get worse? This is just the beginning, Adim?
Yeah. So this was our fear at the start of the preseason where you guys had like 3 weeks off and you played the Club World Cup and well, injuries are piling and it's gonna, I don't know if it's gonna get better, but it'll probably get a little worse because what we've seen is that the Premier League is probably the most physical league out there. So the players have to do a little bit extra. That's why Florian Wirtz is struggling a little bit to adjust to the physicality and the nature of the game here. So I'm not quite sure how Chelsea will deal with it. It's good that you guys have a pretty big squad to dip into, but losing the best players out for even 2, 3 weeks is going to be a problem, and this will continue. So I am fearful of that. I just wanted to touch about the Nicholas Jackson thing. I think he'll be back at Chelsea next season because Uli Hoeneß, the Bayern Munich chief, said that we're not going to make him play all 40 games so that you sign him for a permanent deal. He's going to play just about enough games to be on a loan. I don't know why he would say something like this to a player, especially after he's just joined. It makes no sense. I don't know what they try to do at Bayern Munich now. It's kind of crazy as to why he said that. Now, why will Nicholas Jackson want to give his best over there? He knows he's going to be there. He's not going to be there at the end of the season. So it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I think it's basically a bunch of old folks who are very arrogant, just saying whatever comes to their mind, not thinking about the consequences. But that's a good segue because Adeem, I wanted to talk about specifically Nicholas Jackson and Madueke, right? Because talking about losing players to injury, we lost these two players to transfers, right? And I think these were players who were very important to Chelsea who we will miss, right? We was of course sold Nkunku, we've sold Joao Felix and Kieran Dewsbury Hall and all of these guys, but I really think that Nicholas Jackson and Madueke brought something that we'll find a little hard to replace now, especially now that Delap is gone. So, you said that, of course, Bayern Munich are probably not going to buy Nicholas Jackson because of the 40 game, but I think he'll have other suitors
Hmm.
because he's a really good footballer. And I think he will mature this year because Company, whatever you say about him as a coach, he's a good, tactical coach. He can develop players and he will. Because Nicholas Jackson has a very unique skill set, right? I've seen very few people, give Konate a run for their
Yeah.
money physically in terms of speed. And Nicholas Jackson, whenever they've come up, against each other, he's done that. And then he's also got like a little bit of finesse, which, he worked really well with Cole Palmer from time to time. So we'll see. I don't know how we replace Jackson, especially with Delap injured. And then we talked about Madueke also a little bit. Madueke, I think he's now in the England setup, well and
Yep.
truly in the England setup. Powerful runner, a very effective box penetrator, and somebody who gets shots away, right? I think he's definitely going to make Arsenal stronger, and we will miss him. I don't think we had an option. We had to let him go. We were getting good money. Esteva was
Yeah.
coming in. But let's see. I don't know. What do you think about these guys, Adeem? Like Nicholas Jackson and Madueke? Do you think we'll miss them, especially because of this constant churn that also affects the team, right? You're kind of seeing that a little bit with a lot of new
Yeah.
signings this year at Liverpool.
I think Madueke will be the miss because I saw him play for Arsenal against Liverpool and he was doing really well. I think he was their best player when he took Kirkes on, and although he didn't get the final product out, he was a big threat. So I think Madueke would be a bit of a miss for Chelsea. Jackson, I'm not quite so sure because I was never sold on him. You obviously have him in high regard, and as you rightly said, he did give Konate problems with his physicality and pace, but I just felt that maybe Jackson, like, he wasn't the finished product, so maybe this loan deal could work for him. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Madueke was a bit of a surprise. So obviously, Chelsea see these people as objects to sell, buy,
Yeah.
etc. So, but it's a nice segue because you guys are already signing players for
Yeah, I think
2026. Yeah,
the segues from you today have been on point, Adeem. I
all
think
fall into
that's
place.
perfect. Yeah. So talking about being addicted to transfers, Chelsea have already like bought. I don't know if you can say bought Emmanuel Emegha, this young Dutch striker from our sister team Strasbourg, which is basically like a transfer laundering operation right now. He's going to join in 2026, right? Of course, we already have other players who will come back in 2026. We have Kenry Paez, we have Giovanni Quenda, who's like a very talented Portuguese winger. So, that the transfer addiction remains well and truly. Although we try to pretend with a positive transfer spending this time that we are over it, we are not. If you look at the transfer list, it's insane. It's like you keep scrolling. There's so many people. Let's see. I don't know what that means. That probably means, some center forward is going to get sold, probably Delap or somebody next time around. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think that's a good note to end this. I think we have a couple of games of this particular weekend. Chelsea's playing. I think Brentford and you guys are playing Burnley, right? So we'll be back next week to talk about those games. I'm
Yeah.
I'm, I'm glad the international break is
Oh
over.
yeah, thank
It just
God.
bores
Oh
me to
wow.
death, yes. But yeah, so I think thank you again to the listeners for listening to our channel and listening to our episodes. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel about Garnacho. Do you think he'll succeed at Chelsea? And will we really miss Nicholas Jackson and Madueke? Let us know what you think. And as usual, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.